Good evening and welcome to the Burbank Police Commission regular meeting for August 20th, 2025. Before we go into our agenda, I'll make this announcement twice. The public comments options. To speak during public comment, members of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes in person in the council chamber, or they may call 818-238-3335. That's 818-238-3335. Members of the public who attend the meeting in chamber will speak first, followed by those phoning in their comments. And so we will start with our roll call. Ms. Nakamura?
Commissioner Chapman?
Here.
Chair Coombs?
Present?
Commissioner Elman?
Here.
Commissioner Hartunian?
Present.
Commissioner Hakobian?
Present.
Commissioner McKenna is absent, and Commissioner Wenzel.
Present.
And Narbe, welcome to the commission, and we would love to have you lead our flag salute for us.
Absolutely, I would love to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we are moving on to item C, which is commission announcements and reporting out by commissioners and ad hoc subcommittees. This is for brief announcements by commissioners and brief reports regarding activities of ad hoc subcommittees. And Ann, can we start with you?
Of course. Attended National Night Out. As always, it was good. Much larger crowd this year at Johnny Carson Park. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed more booths, more opportunities to get out and just chat with people, and our stops were also very good. It was good to talk to people one-on-one and find out what their initial concerns are. And that's about it.
And thank you. Mike?
Good. I also attended National Night Out, and it was a fantastic evening, as Mary mentioned. I was impressed not only with the activities at Johnny Carson Park, but when we visited the different neighborhood block parties, I noticed at one particular one, there was a listing of pictures of former ones for the last 10 years, along with the name and address and phone number, name and phone number of one of the police officers. And they said, this is a person that we can trust. Contact this person if you have any questions about what's going on in the neighborhood, which I thought was fantastic. That means that outreach has been going on for 10 years and people are responding to it in a very positive manner. I also attended or took the ethics training course, which everyone eventually have to take. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
One more thing.
Yeah.
We did have a meet and greet for the chief, and that was also a very successful event. And thank you, Chief, for presenting. And it was very well received. Thank you very much.
Let's see. Thank you for that, Mike. So I also got a chance to attend the meet and greet in July with the chief and with the Burbank Human Relations Council, and that was a fantastic event. Narbe and I got a chance to meet in early August to do kind of a brief orientation to the kind of the function and how the mechanical operations of the committee. So hopefully you'll be up to speed and we'll have you ready to go, and I think you will be. Also got a chance to participate in National Night Out. I was able to ride with the chief, Lieutenant Green, and Vice Mayor Takahashi, and that was a fantastic evening. And then this past Monday, I was able to have lunch with the chief and with Executive Assistant Sherry Nakamura to be able to kind of talk about different roles and different functions of the commission and how we work together and whatever we can do to provide support and orient the chief to the work we're doing. That was him, not me. I was... So that's what I've been up to. Romick?
Thank you, Chair. Of course, August 5th, I attended National Night Out. It was a great event. Kudos to the Burbank Police Department. Thank you, Deputy Chief Cornelius, for the wonderful ride-alongs. We had some great tacos together. And also a wonderful event at the park. Just putting an event like that is crazy, and kudos to the BPD for pulling that off. And also attended the meet and greet with the chief. Thank you for giving your inspiring speech. It was a great event, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Romick. Mike?
I also attended the National Night Out. Thought it was a great night, very well organized, very well attended.
If you could pull a little bit closer so that way online they can hear. Thank you.
Also, Even though I didn't have to, I took the ethics training 6 months early, get it done. Also, with the school opening, I went to observe the opening of school. On the first day, I was at Jefferson Elementary, and on the second day, I was at Miller Elementary. And that's all I have to report.
Mike, thank you. Narbe, welcome.
Thank you so much. First of all, it's a real pleasure and honor to be a part of this body. I'm looking forward to doing our work together. I also attended the National Night Out, and I have to tell you, I was really impressed with the the block parties. How much they kind of took it on themselves to have a lot of informational materials out. The two that we went to, they had disaster preparedness flyers, and that to me was very interesting. It was not only like a nice sense of the community and great food. It was also seeing their internal outreach and sharing with their neighbors, especially from the disaster preparedness perspective. There was this great packet that I took home, and my wife already filled out all the emergency notes in there, and I think we're going to start using it around the house. And I don't think I would have gotten that had I not gotten this right along. So
Fantastic.
It's an amazing event.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to item D, which is oral communications for 3 minutes. Again, for the public comment options to speak during this time, members of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes in person in the council chamber, or they may call 818-238-3335. Members of the public who attend the meeting in chamber will speak first, then followed by those phoning in their comments. Ms. Nakamura, do we have any comments in the audience? No? Okay. So do we have any comments from that are calling in?
Yes, we do.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Our first caller is Savina. Savina, you're live with the Police Commission.
Savina, welcome.
Hi, Commission. Thank you so much for taking my call today. Hopefully you can hear me well, and there's not too much latency. I did prepare a PowerPoint document that I wanted to run through to show some of the issues that are happening in and around Miller Elementary, specifically the alleyway. There are safety issues that are escalating and have been through the 5 years that I've been a resident. And I would like to just go over these brief issues and discuss some proposals and next
Sure.
steps.
If we could start the
So if you
PowerPoint.
would like to- Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Opening slide is pretty straightforward. You'll note that the alleyway in question is parallel to Providencia and Santa Anita. The cross streets are 6th and 7th. Second slide is showing you a visual representation of the map. The third slide is basically highlighting the issues, the location, and who it's prepared by, which is myself, Sabina Roman. Who am I and why am I speaking out? I've been a resident for 5 years. I live on the corner of 7th and Providencia. My garage door opens directly in the alleyway. It has been an ongoing, escalating issue, hence why I'm here and why I'm advocating for some change. If you go to slide 5, please. Slide 5, I just added. This is basically dated. The photo was taken as of, I believe, Friday the 15th at 8:21 a.m. An enforcement officer had just driven through the alleyway and hooked a right. So I bring this so it can highlight the issues here. So we need a sustained proactive safety plan before this becomes a serious incident. The problems that are present are unsafe dropout behaviors that endanger the children and block residents daily. The garages and driveways are blocked all the time, leaving us residents trapped. It's unsafe vehicle maneuvers such as speeding up the alleyway, not paying attention for children combing through and maneuvering through the parked vehicles that are stacked there in 2 lanes. The other thing is the verbal and physical threats that are coming from the parents to the residents when you ask them politely, please do not park, please don't block, blah, blah, blah. It becomes a very contentious situation where I have been threatened before by an elderly man, physically, verbally, all that. When it comes to temporary patrols, I appreciate the efforts. However, these are short-term relief issues that don't really address the root. What I'd like to propose is a solution to having a bit of a flagging that alleyways in and around elementary schools are no drop-off zones, with additional signage, fines, and ticketing, where enforcement isn't just warning, it's actually ticketing to help reinforce to parents, you may not respect the residents here, the signage that's present, you may not respect the fact that I know that the principal here has sent out notifications in multiple languages saying, hey, please be mindful. If they can't respect all of the existing measures, maybe fining them would be an escalated option to kind of drive home the points here. The next proposed solution would be a scheduled Burbank Police Department presence at pickup and drop-off. I appreciate this week seeing quite a bit of the officers. I've spoken to 2 of them myself directly. Very pleasant. We're all aligned in trying to keep not just the children safe, but also residents. I understand there's a dedicated community outreach officer, which is great. I would love to see that being a dedicated person who's here often, hopefully to create a more long-lasting change.
Savina, I'm sorry your time is up. Thank you so
3
much.
minutes. Wow.
Items raised during public comment. We may only provide brief, non-substantive responses, request clarification, or refer items to staff. And Ann, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Alrighty. I did go up there to Miller. I made a little map. I see what the concern is. The alley has one entrance exit on each side of like a perpendicular. I can see where this must get extremely congested during school drop-off and pickup time. I'm wondering, though, there's some construction of a brand new apartment building there at the corner of Cedar and 6th, and I'm wondering if some of the impact of the congestion is due to construction. I don't know. I didn't see it. I went during a non-construction time, so I think that an overall evaluation is probably necessary to really determine what is the impact, and especially the impact, impact on children.
Thank you.
And their safety.
Awesome. Thank you, Ann. Other responses? I will say I did receive an email regarding this issue, and I do thank Ms. Ramon for submitting a PowerPoint in advance as well. That was really helpful, really thorough, and I appreciate you going out there as well. I do know that the department is looking into this and taking it seriously, so I anticipate that it will be addressed by staff in the future. Any other comments? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're moving on to item F, which is the approval of minutes from the July 16th, 2025 meeting. Sherry, thank you for sending that out to all of us. And what I'm looking for is making sure folks got a chance to review that. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a motion to approve in a second. I have a motion from Mike Chapman. Do I have a second for Mike Ellman? All in favor of approving the minutes from July 16th, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Yeah. You have to abstain because you weren't in the meeting. So yeah, so it's okay. So we've got five approving, 1 abstention. Awesome. All right, so we're moving on to item G, which is items of business. The first one is election of officers. This is our annual meeting where we select officers for chair, vice chair, and secretary. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and go in that order. We'll start by taking nomination, and what we can do is folks can therefore cascade if not selected for a particular position. So I'd like to go ahead and start with opening up for nominations for chair. And then we'll open up for nominations for vice chair and then for secretary as we go through the process. So for chair, I'd like to open it up for nominations. Romick?
Thank you, Chair Grooms. I would like to nominate myself for the chair position.
Okay.
Given my experience on the Burbank Police Commission and my community involvement, I think I would play this role perfectly. You know, I have a nonprofit. I've served on boards all throughout the community. So, you know, with the example that you've left us, you know, I believe that we can definitely pick up and, move the commission forward. And I would love to serve as chair.
Okay, thank you. Other nominations for chair? Hearing no other nominations, I'd like to go ahead and call for a motion to appoint Romick as chair of the commission. I have a motion from Mike Ellman. Do I have a second from Ann? Second, Ann? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, Roman, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Did you want to take over tonight, or did you want to wait until the next meeting?
No, I think you can, I would love it if you would.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. All right, so that's for chair. So the next one we're appointing, or we're nominating for, is vice chair. So I'd like to open up for nominations for vice chair.
It's going to sound weird. Can I nominate you as vice chair?
You could?
I'd like to nominate James Coombs as vice chair.
Okay, thank you.
I applaud your team membership.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I want to emphasize, I will accept the nomination, but I want to emphasize that all of us have a role for participation, regardless of whether we're carrying one of these three roles or not.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so thank you. Other nominations for vice chair? Narbe?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Mike Ellman for
Okay.
vice chair.
Okay.
I'm very new. I've only gotten to know everybody a little bit, but I think everybody here is, equal parts leader, and I think as a vice chair, I think Mike Ellman will bring a lot of experience, and
Okay.
especially working with Romig, I think I'd be curious to see what ideas we come up with together.
Okay. Mike, do you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, so let's go ahead. All in favor, let's go ahead and start with Mike. Just as a side note, I'm actually choosing to abstain from the vote. This is something that I've done in past years, and I'm going to continue to do that this evening, so it's not, no offense to anyone. So I'd like to go, all in favor of nominating, of appointing Mike Ellman to vice chair for the police commission? Three? Okay, all in favor of appointing me to vice chair of the police commission? Two. Okay, so with that, Mike, you are now the vice chair of the police commission. Congratulations. All right. And then we're moving, yes, Mike.
Just a quick point of order. Paul is not with us tonight.
No,
Is he joining us on?
we don't
He
know.
has absolutely no vote.
Yeah, he
Okay.
unfortunately cannot vote
That's it.
tonight. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, we're going to open up for nominations for secretary of the police commission. So I'd like to go ahead and open up nominations for secretary. Romick?
I would love to nominate Ann.
Okay. Ann?
I'd love to find out more about I know what the details are. Of course, will accept your nomination.
And we can get those details to you as well. Okay, so we have Ann nominated for secretary. Do we have any other nominations?
I'd love to nominate. That's fine, sir.
Okay. Mike?
I've had this role before, and I think Ann would be perfect, so I'm going to pass on that.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Oops, sorry.
I've had this role before, and Ann has not, and I'm going to pass on it this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I accept your
Thank you.
pass.
Any other nominations for secretary? All right, with that, all in favor of appointing Ann as secretary of the police commission for this year?
I abstain.
One abstention, okay. Any opposition? One abstention, so that's 5 in favor, 1 abstention. Ann, congratulations and thank you. Thank you for that. Excellent, thank you all for that. We're going to go ahead and move on to item G2, which is presentation, discussion, and recommendations, if applicable, of the Burbank Police Department's role and interactions at public protests. And we have Sergeant Kevork Marakian with us. Did I pronounce that correctly, Sergeant? Excellent, thank you, Sergeant, welcome.
Thank you, sir. So I am Sergeant Kevork Marakian. For those of you who don't know me, I've been here for a little over 16 years. I'm currently assigned to our property division as a detective supervisor, and part of my collateral assignment is a SWAT team leader, as well as a assistant coordinator for Area C for our department here. Thank you. So some of the things as far as roles go for law enforcement is what we do as law enforcement officers when we get called out to protests, whether it's here in Burbank or in our Area C responsibility or in other areas here in Los Angeles County. And some of that things we do is we facilitate and we manage the peaceful protest or First Amendment right for people to be out there, essentially. And we do intervene, and we do it quickly here in Burbank when we do have riot situations or people who are attacking people or acting in a dangerous manner. That is one of our main responsibilities in protests. We do give out dispersal orders. It is the law. We have it. Every single police officer has it. It's in our yellow notebooks on the back of it. So any one of us can give the dispersal order, and we don't do any action before we do dispersal orders when it comes to protests. Mutual aid is a big one. We are in a location that's called Area C. Essentially, it's about 10 departments that are part of it. Burbank is one of them. It is managed by the Pasadena Police Department, and on a larger scale, it's actually managed by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. So Pasadena is like our manager for Area C, and we fall under that umbrella. So if any one of the 10 agencies that need our assistance, want our assistance for any reason regarding managing a crowd or people or a major scene, they would call or contact Pasadena PD, and the Pasadena PD would make all the appropriate notifications for us to respond. Sometimes, depending on how severe the incident is or how fast it happens, the agency could call our watch commander and request the same assistance, and we'd respond accordingly. So some of the mutual aid things that we respond to are planned protests that turn violent, as we've seen on TV. Some are unplanned protests, whether it's in Burbank or in our Area C. Civil disobedience or a riot. Natural disasters like earthquakes, wildfires, what we just had in Altadena. Officer-involved shootings, large crime scenes, and if it's a canine assistance, which we have mutual agreements with San Fernando PD and Glendale. So some of the recent stuff that Burbank's responded to, one of the big ones that come to mind is the Altadena fires in Pasadena. We did spend several days there on a rotation period helping out both Pasadena and LA County Sheriff's Department Altadena Station with the fires, with the victims, with blocking off roads, whatever assistance they needed, Burbank PD assisted. And most recently, we did respond to downtown Los Angeles regarding the immigration enforcement protests. Some of the protests since 2020 for Burbank, some made the news like Tenorin Flats, some small-scale BLM protests, the Avilio Airlines protest that's been ongoing, pro-Palestinian rallies, the Artsakh War protest a couple years ago, and the small one we have weekly at Tesla. As far as bookings go for our jail, I know sometimes some agencies allow outside agencies to book in their jails. The only agency that books in our jail is Burbank Police Department and the airport. So Burbank Authority, airport, or us, no other agencies booking anybody in our jail. As far as arrests are made, if it's within Burbank, if it's a Burbank incident, Burbank PD's handling it, we will handle the arrest, the transportation, the booking. If it's an outside agency, if we're in LAPD's area and we assist them, they would handle the arrest and the booking and the transportation of the inmates. As far as documentation goes, it doesn't matter for us if we're in Burbank or LA or Altadena. Everything's the same for us. Our reporting is the same, our reports are the same, our use of force is the same, we follow our policies. If we're outside of our jurisdiction, the supervisor is always with the teammates, they're never separated from us, and we do record everything on our body-worn cameras. It doesn't matter what jurisdiction we're in. So nothing changes as far as reporting requirements go or our actions outside of our jurisdiction. This is fairly a new one. It's a BMC 5-3-301. It does prohibit certain items that people can bring to a protest or a rally. And it defines certain thickness for material used for signs. It goes into complete detail. It's several pages long. Some of the things are like no open flames, lasers, bricks, weapons, etc. It's a great tool for us to have that we did not have before. If you watch some of the newsreels, they're using stuff to attack protesters and counter-protesters and police officers. So if we do see them bring these prohibited items, first thing we do is it's more of an educational thing. We'd let them know, hey, you can't bring that, take that back to your car, whatever it may be. Or it gives us the authority to actually enforce the law if we need to. So it's a great tool that we recently implemented. So in 2022, AB 48 came out. It changed the rules for everybody in California regarding dealing with riots or riotous behavior. Before, we could use chemical agents on a group of people in a protest. That's no longer the scenario. You can't do that anymore. It has to be specific to a person. So if this person is committing a violent act, a violent crime, whatever less than lethal option we're going to use has to be targeted to that one specific person. You can't just throw gas into a crowd anymore. So that being said, everybody in our department, especially our SWAT team, is trained for AB 48. We have certain people that we send to certain classes that become instructors. They come back, they bring that training back to us, and then we train our personnel. The entire department is trained on AB 48. Some are given some specific instructions and training as it relates to less than lethal munitions that they can only use. And it's the same for us. Like if we go to LA's area and do the same thing, we follow our policies, procedures, and AB 48, regardless of what any other department may do. time, place, and manner restrictions is big. It gives us the authority to stop a protest if we have to. We can't just let a protest go like on the airport tarmac, freeway, closing on the freeways. You can't let them at 2 o'clock in the morning in neighborhoods with bullhorns, waking up the entire neighborhood. There are certain restrictions in place for law enforcement to use as a tool to stop a protest if we have to. That being said, we do need to help the crowd at times. If they want to protest at whatever intersection, we may guide them into a specific spot where the message is still displayed. They can still talk about what they want to talk about, get their message out. It's more of an education thing. We haven't really run into too many issues in Burbank with that, but I have seen LAPD run into issues with allowing some protests to get out of hand.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you. I appreciate Mike Ellman and Ann Wenzel bringing this to agendize this a few months ago and everything. So I'd like to actually start with Mike and then Ann for any questions or comments that you have.
Sure. Thank you for your presentation. In your presentation, I wonder how you interact, how our department interacts with various entities such as National Guard, the state, federal agents. You mentioned that we do a mutual aid. How do we interact with those people?
So, to my knowledge, we've never had the National Guard here in the last 16 years that I've been in Burbank. I've never had to have the National Guard come out to help us out for any reason. The way it would work for us, just to give an example, would be if Pasadena Police Department requests our assistance for some type of protest. Pasadena PD would now be the incident commanders of that incident. We would respond to their command post, find out exactly what they need, and we would assist them with whatever it is that they need. Majority of the time, it's infrastructure protection. They'll have us line up at a building, protect that building from being vandalized or broken into. Pasadena PD or LAPD, whoever it may be, is now handling the actual riot or the protesters themselves. So generally speaking, we would have no interaction with National Guard. The last time we went out to LA to assist with immigration protests, National Guard had the federal building. They surrounded the federal building. There were no other law enforcement officers near them. They were either infrastructure protection for LA City buildings, or they were dealing with the protesters themselves. So I've never seen us actually work with National Guard, at least in the 16 years I've been here.
When you do mutual aid to another community, Los Angeles, are you then under the direction of the Los Angeles Police Department or any other agency?
No, the supervisor that responds out to every single one of these requests is actually in charge of Burbank PD. We may get attached to another team. Let's say Monterey Park sends 2 or 3 people to help out. They may assign those officers with us, but at the end of the day, our supervision controls our officers. The incident commander for the entire operation may control LAPD, whatever use of force that they authorize, but that's going to be for LAPD. LAPD doesn't command us, or Pasadena PD, whoever it may be, doesn't command us on what we're going to do as far as use of force goes.
Ultimately, you're under the policies of the city of Burbank, yeah?
Correct.
Or Burbank Police Department, yeah.
That is correct.
Have you had, do we have any information about any times, you mentioned different protests over the years that we've had, where the police have had to respond with some force beyond, having to respond beyond traffic issues or something like that? Have we ever had to use any heightened force?
The only one that really comes to mind is during Tin Horn Flats, where we had a person try to rile up the protesters. He started shoving protesters, basically insinuating a fight with protesters. And officers did respond. They grabbed him, they took him down to the ground, they handcuffed him, they put him in the car, and they took him. That's the only thing I could think of as far as like it's happening now, where we're not pre-planned, we're not set up on it. It was just one guy who was a little drunk and decided he wants to fight everybody in the protest. And luckily for us, the people who were protesting were actually very peaceful. They ended up calling us, and they didn't engage him in any way, shape, or form. But as far as I know, that's the extent of any use of force that we've had protest-wise here in Burbank.
Sticking in the protest area, have we gotten any feedback from the public, negatively or positively, about the police actions?
I've heard positively, especially during 2020. when we had a large group protest and walk up and down our downtown Burbank area. There were several people that praised us for blocking off roads to businesses and giving an avenue for people to walk, and the traffic bureau shutting off streets for them to walk safely. I've never heard anything negative as far as us being present to any protest.
Mr. Chapman, the only thing I will add to that as far as any comment that's positive, in the short amount of time that I've been here, it has been positive. And prior to me being here, having Burbank respond over to Glendale, the protests that we had while I was a captain there, the feedback that I got from the incident commander as far as the level of composure, how professional of an organization they are, and in support of Glendale at the time, and how they carried out their duty, which was a matter of just force protection and show of force to ensure that it didn't end up escalating to something where we would have to use force. So from what I've heard, what I've seen, it's professionalism at its highest.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it just seems there's a little bit of a balance between freedom of speech issues and safety, both for general public and for businesses along the area there. I think I'm going to share with Ann here for a moment, and we may come back.
Okay.
And go ahead.
First of all, thank you so much for your report. I know that most people are familiar now with the regular, the 17th of every month, the protest that is down by the library, the intersection of South Verdugo, southeast corner of Verdugo and Buena Vista. And those, since I live very close to there, they seem to be peaceful, noisy, but peaceful. They begin, they end on time. I also notice there's almost always some type of either a motorcycle officer or an officer in a car, primarily just to make sure things are okay, peaceful.
Yes.
Okay, and have those protests been peaceful? I've noticed they have been. Have they been?
Is this the pro-Palestinian protest that you're referring to?
The ones that have been the anti-King Day, they're called, and then in general, the 17th, they're mostly anti-present administration, it seems.
Yeah, they've generally been nothing but peaceful, and having a motorcycle officer there is very typical for us. Essentially, one of the first things we will do for any protest is we will send a motorcycle officer in the area to give us a gauge of how many people are there, whether they're in the street, whether they're peaceful, whether more police presence is needed or no police presence is needed, because sometimes that may be the key for us not to be there and let them express whatever it is they want to express. So as long as they're peaceful, our motor officer will probably be our only response to it. And like I said, majority of times to make sure they're not in traffic. So
Right.
as far as, to my knowledge, it's been peaceful.
Right, and I did notice that at one of the ones that there were people going up and down that seemed to be part of the organization, telling people you have to be on not the sidewalk people have to keep moving on, but on the grassy part you must stand on there, you can't dip down into the street.
Yeah, that's very typical. And for us, as far as Burbank PD goes, a lot of times we will head out to these protests, introduce ourselves to whoever their leader may be, and we'll speak to them. Majority of the time, they want to keep it peaceful because they want their message heard. So that's very typical for any group to do. Well, they'll try to contain their own group so the police don't have to respond.
Okay. You mentioned incident commander. What would the circumstances, what might they look like if Burbank police were called down to LA? I mean, somebody has to be in charge.
This last time that we went for the immigration protest, they had an entire incident command, essentially an RV, where they had some kind of board with names and paperwork with names on it. You respond to that location, any group, us, Glendale, Pasadena, it wouldn't matter. You check in with, at this time it's LAPD, you tell them how many people we've brought to help them out. They tell you, this is what we need you to do. In that case, we had 5 officers from Burbank that responded. There's a couple more officers from our Area C that they attached to us. They said, we need you to go to LA City building, East building, and make sure that they don't vandalize it, they don't attack it, and that is your job. And so then we responded as a group to that building and just lined up at that building and kept the peace there for 12 hours that I was there.
Would there ever be circumstances where the incident command the owner, say, of that property area, LA, whatever, would be in disagreement with our values.
Can I give a real quick?
Yeah, because,
So-
please.
So you have to understand what the incident command system is. And the incident command system is nationwide. So it's a standardized approach to managing emergencies and critical incidents. So it provides a framework for the respective department, the organization, and other entities as far as how we manage those specific incidents. It ensures that the chain of command is clearly identified. Usually, it is at the very minimum a manager, if not an executive. So manager being a lieutenant, executive being a captain and above, managing. And the reason being is you want to ensure that you have the decision makers there to make the decision on behalf of the respective entities that are going to be present. It operates under a unified command model. So as Sergeant Moroccan was describing, the people, us, going in support of, we are in support of the incident commander. Usually that incident commander is going to be the person that has control and authority over that agency. So he's described LA, the recent protests. It's going to be a representative from the Los Angeles Police Department that we are going to be showing in support of. It ensures smooth communication, efficiency, delivery of services, the whole logistics, planning, and everything that comes with the model.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. Last question, and it wasn't mentioned in your report. What was the final decision on the use of frozen water bottles being present at protests?
They're prohibited under our BMC.
Okay, so they are prohibited? Okay, thank you.
I'll jump in at this point. Actually, I want to pick up on that as well. First off, I want to say thank you for making the presentation. One of the, it's not meant to grill the department or anything like that, but one of the reasons conversations like this are so important is because this is an opportunity to respond to a national narrative or a narrative that's happening in other jurisdictions or other locations. So I appreciate when we get the opportunity to clarify that. And I also appreciate, I see assistant, I want to mess this up. Is it assistant chief or deputy chief? Deputy Chief. I wrote down Assistant Chief, so I'm glad I asked the question. So when Deputy Chief Cornelius did a presentation to this body in advance of doing a presentation to the City Council for a change in the Burbank Municipal Code, that's the type of thing that's really helpful to really clarify kind of where we stand. That's actually where I wanted to start. We follow all of our policies and procedures, or you follow all of the Burbank policies and procedures. I'm curious as to how consistent the current Burbank Municipal Code is with other jurisdictions, because if you're going into other locations to enforce safety in other spaces, do we have to adapt to their jurisdictional rules, or are we able to maintain our jurisdictional rules in those settings?
Well, the Burbank Municipal Code is very close to Glendale's Municipal Code.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what LA's municipal code is as it pertains to bringing weapons or what we define as weapons here. I would say for LA's response, if we were to respond to LA, I wouldn't necessarily enforce the thickness of wood like we do here at BMC. But our job is also very different when we're responding to a different agency's assistance. We're not generally controlling what's happening with the crowd. We're more of like an infrastructure protection or holding an intersection somewhere.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit different for us. We wouldn't necessarily be to in time what's happening with their municipal code. I would say we're more dealing with if it really gets out of hand, or our specific job is to just protect this building or these group of people, whatever it may be. So our mission kind of changes when we leave Burbank into a different area.
And it's part of the incident command, and yet there's a specific task
Correct.
associated with it. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
And Chair Coombs, if I may add, the handling agency requesting the support has primary jurisdiction over the entire event. I can tell you as a prior incident commander overseeing several of the events, some of those that Sergeant Moroccan mentioned, usually as far as when we're talking about communicating what the rules of engagement are, that is clearly spelled out. So for any arriving agency arriving in support of, we are usually providing them with a briefing and letting them know what they are going to probably be exposed to and their role in having to take some type of enforcement action should it be. As far as our Burbank Municipal Code, it is very consistent, and I'll defer to the Deputy Chief. From what I saw in the prior meeting, it's consistent across Glendale, it's consistent across the LA. A lot of the agencies in the region have mirrored these policies, muni codes from each other.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to jump around with that. And again, this is to help kind of clarify for all of our knowledge. You had talked about the use of projectiles and how staff have to be, officers have to be specifically trained in the use of that equipment and everything. This ties into some experience that I have in work related as well. Can you describe just briefly kind of how the projectiles are to be deployed? My understanding is that they're not actually supposed to be fired directly at people, but they're often supposed to be designed to be bounced. Is that correct or is that incorrect?
No, it depends on which device we're talking about.
Okay.
One of the ones that I think you're referring to as far as bouncing off of the ground would be the pepper ball gun that we have. And it works better when it hits the ground versus direct impact on someone because of the dispersal of the powder that's inside of it.
Right.
We don't have any skipping rounds that some agencies may have. Those are too dangerous, in my opinion, to skip because you can't control which direction it's going to skip.
Okay.
As far as less than lethal munitions that we would take to any kind of riot or protest would be our typical 40 millimeter sponge rounds, which are direct impact.
Okay.
And it would be our pepper ball guns, which, yes, I would rather hit that in the ground in front of the individual. You can do direct impact. It's just going to have more of an impact if it hits the ground in front of them because of the dispersal.
I appreciate learning that. One last question. You just talked about the dispersal orders earlier. And again, this is to help kind of clarify the narrative that we see in other jurisdictions and other locations. Unfortunately, in the news and social media, we have heard, we've seen situations where there was a dispersal order given and immediately in less than a second, there was then a tactical response. Can you describe a little bit about how a dispersal order is typically for Burbank PD?
Yeah.
How a dispersal order is typically given and how that plays out?
So if the incident was in itself, let's say in Burbank, and now it's to the point where it's no longer considered a normal protest, it's become violent, when we need to disperse the crowd. The dispersal order will be given generally through a loud PA or through a patrol car's PA system. It'll generally be given in multiple languages. And the law is very clear about it. You have to give the order and you have to give the crowd time to leave and an actual clear path of travel for them to leave in. So that's some of the stuff that we discussed prior to as far as Burbank PD goes.
Right.
Hey, the protest is going to be here. If we do need to do the dispersal order, which direction are we going to have people safely leave? It's not a last-minute hurry-up offense, and we do give ample amount of time for people to leave. I have seen some of the things you're talking about on the news, but here in Burbank, it's never happened to my knowledge. And if you do give an order, and I've seen it in Glendale before, they've done it. They've given the order in multiple languages. They've given plenty of time for people to leave. And it's the safest way to move a crowd, so people don't get attacked.
I appreciate that. And last comment I'll make, and I'll hand it off to my colleagues here as well. And Chief and I have had a chance to talk about this briefly, and I learned a little bit too. I participated as a protester in Glendale 5 summers ago, and I went with my daughter. It was extremely well organized and everything. There was a moment that frankly brought anxiety to me because the protest organizers took the crowd into the middle of an intersection and shut down the intersection. I was worried about my own safety in that moment. It was not something I was comfortable with, but the way things were set up, kind of what you go along with it. 5 years later, I learned that even the shutting down of the intersection was coordinated with local law enforcement, which I appreciate. And I want to lift up the level of coordination that traditionally happens between organizations and organizers that are protesting and local law enforcement. I just want to acknowledge how much I appreciate the willingness and the commitment to uphold the public's First Amendment rights. So thank you all for the work that you're doing. I want to open it up to other questions or comments. Romik?
Thank you, James. Sergeant Moroccan, thank you so much for that detailed presentation. In regards to protests and the length of protests, are there specific laws and any restrictions on how long a protest can occur? Are there like hours, days, weeks, months, or just as long as they're peaceful and they meet the guidelines that, you guys have to, address?
As long as it's peaceful, there's no guidelines on the length of time or how many days it can go. As long as it meets the time, manner restrictions. Like I said, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and they're in a neighborhood creating noise just to create noise to annoy residents, then that's something that we can enforce. Just like the UCLA protests that happen for days on end, as long as it's peaceful, it'll continue. It's just when the peace is now broken and they're rioting, that's when we will start doing enforcement. Other than that, there is no restrictions on time or how long it can go for.
I appreciate that because I know that sometimes protests can happen in certain areas where businesses can be impacted. And I know that a few years back we had protests where similar businesses, and I was serving on the Burbank Chamber Board at that time, we had small business owners calling us because they were boarding up their businesses because out of fear of like vandalism. So how do you guys approach that? Is there conversations with small businesses during that time? Like what happens?
Yeah, we have community resource officers here that I think have a pretty good relationship with community members, especially business owners here. I think in the future, at least in my position that I'll be going to, one of the things I would like to do is let business owners know ahead of time, especially if it's something like 2020 all over again, that, hey, this could be coming our way, and if it does, have a plan in place on what you want to do. In 2020, a lot of people did start boarding up their businesses, both in Glendale and in Burbank, because they were watching the news and their businesses were getting vandalized. I don't blame them for doing that, but I don't want that to be a hurry-up offense for a business owner for a last-minute type of deal. But I think we have a pretty good relationship with our community members, especially our business owners here, and they always can call us for any reason. I think we do a pretty good job on social media about putting out, what's going on in Los Angeles, or it could be impacting our city. So as far as business owners go, if they just pay more attention to our social media accounts, I think they have a heads up on what's going to come, and they can make a decision on themselves if they want to board up or leave or stay.
No, that's fantastic, and I think what can really work well is in a community engagement role. I mean, the Burbank Chamber has access to all the membership, and they have a large list of businesses and they can reach out to, and I think it's a really great way of just building a collaboration between them and sending that information out because that can go directly to the small business owners and just precaution, things like that. So following up with that, so the dynamics of something like a national protest that occurred during that time versus a local protest, like how did the dynamics change for you guys? Like what kind of parameters do you have to follow, or how's that psychologically changed the atmosphere that you're in?
As far as like psychologically changing, I think we do really well with training here in Burbank compared to a lot of agencies. Our guys are very level-headed. They're very calm in situations like this. At least when I went to the immigration protest, all the guys I were with were very calm, very professional. You could tell the difference between us and the larger agencies as far as how they responded, how they spoke to people, however it may be. I don't anticipate any difference with us as far as if it's a national thing going on or local. The only thing nationally would be a request from our area that this is happening, we're going to need help. And larger scale protests like the immigration protests we had now are in different areas. That wasn't our area, but it's our area responding to help them out, which has been different for me. I've never done that. In 16 years, I've never helped LAPD on any kind of protest. They've never requested assistance from any agency. They've always handled in-house. LAPD always does it themselves. Sure. So this was a little bit different than any other protest LA's had.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much.
Mike, go ahead.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Sergeant. Mutual aid situations, does the city of Burbank get reimbursed?
They do.
Okay. And also to protest in Burbank, do you need to take out a permit?
To protest in Burbank?
Yes.
Majority of protests, you do not need a permit.
Could you describe it a little better in the sense of what needs a permit and what doesn't need a permit?
I'm not too familiar with what the requirements are for permitting. I do know if you plan on taking up space, maybe private property, that might be a problem, but I'm not too familiar with the permit process. Yes, please.
So, Deputy Chief Adam Cornels, I'm going to help out Sergeant Moroccan on this one. Generally speaking, City of Burbank, to lawfully exercise your First Amendment rights, there is no permit required. Where a permit comes into play is, are you looking to have a march, take over a street? Are you taking over, looking to impact public property, like taking over, setting up in a park, somewhere where there's a public interest in the property that's being affected? So
Okay.
that's the difference. If somebody was planning to have a march from, referencing your protest, having a march from the Buena Vista Library to City Hall, and they were going to be coming up Olive Avenue and need to take Olive Avenue, if they were planning to do that, that would require a permit. Standing on the sidewalk out front of the library just to express your First Amendment rights, no permit required.
Okay, thank you. Can you describe the logistics of having a team outside of Burbank in terms of making sure they're fed, making sure, the things, everything that's needed for them is available?
Yes, and if we're going to be responding to an outside protest or mutual aid request, it's up to the sergeant to make sure that all their officers have everything they need prior to leaving here. Whether it's our less than lethal options, grab some food, some water, whatever it may be, because you could be at a location for, like we were, 12 to 16 hours with no one coming to help you out. So most of our supervisors, they're fairly experienced. They know what to do, what to take, what not to take with them. So it's up to that supervisor to manage his group or her group prior to heading out to that location.
Is there any rotation that, that an officer can get a break for, a little while, so he's not standing in place for hours and hours?
Absolutely. The incident commander that the chief was speaking about, they're pretty good about rotating people out, whatever hour it may be, or if, in our case, if Burbank PD's been out for quite some time, the new shift of officers that come in will come and take over, and then the officers that have been at that protest will now go back to the station.
Things have really changed. As a child of the 60s, I can remember all the Vietnam protests and Rodney King, and things have really changed from what it used to be. Thank you.
Any other comments? Narbe, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. Just a quick follow-up. You mentioned there's no reporting requirements don't change in the event of enforcement during a protest. Is any data from a protest captured differently? Is anything like annotated in the system, or is it just, obviously other than something like the municipal code you mentioned, any additional information on that?
There is. When I say there's no difference, for us at Burbank PD, whether we're here or a different city, if we do use any type of force, our reporting does not change. It's the same. When we come back here to the station, those officers who are involved in the force or witnessed the force will author a report. They'll review their body-worn camera. Same thing that would happen here. I believe if there is a protest here where force is used, it is the law for us to post it on our website. So there is reporting requirements and data.
And just kind of along those same lines, what role, if any, does intelligence play in your response to something within Burbank?
It does play a big role. Our intelligence could tell us whether or not we're going to have counter-protesters showing up, or it's going to be a large protest, or if this group has had violence in the past, or they've been very peaceful in the past. That will dictate our response to any protest. So intelligence does play a big role, whether it's on a national level or on intel officers here in Burbank PD.
Thank you. And then I know, obviously, in downtown LA, some of the bigger departments, sometimes there's a lot of advanced coordination for larger events, especially if there's permitting required. Does that happen in your Burbank too? Do you have connections with the groups that organize these protests where they kind of let you know just to maximize everyone's safety?
Yeah, we've had several groups that have consistently come to Burbank, and we've had a great relation, especially with our traffic bureau, because like I said, they will go out there and they will contact protesters or protest managers, and it's for the most part, it's been very great. They've been very helpful with us. If we need them to move a crowd or help a crowd or put a crowd somewhere, they've been great about it. So yeah, the ones that typically keep coming back, we have a pretty good relationship with.
Fantastic. Thank you. No more questions for me.
Great. And Sergeant Markey, again, I want to thank you for your time here with us. On a personal note, I spent 4 years serving on a board of a church that's in Pasadena, and we had 25 plus families that lost their homes and many, many more that were displaced from the fires. So just really appreciate the work of Burbank Police Department supporting that community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from anyone? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and move on to item G3, which is the annual review and discussion of City Council goals and expectations of board members. This is a document that Sherry was able to email out to us, and it's also attached to the agenda that is posted online. I'm referring to, let me get to the right one, in an effort to save trees here. This is a document. It's the first page is our agenda for this evening. There's a staff report for Management Services dated August 6th to the Civil Service Board from Betsy McClinton, which is Management Services Director. It talks about recommendations for a code of or development of a code of conduct for all boards and commissions. There are 2 attachments associated with it. Actually, is it 2 attachments or 1? There are 2 attachments. The first attachment is a document that says City Council expectations of board commissions and committee members. And there's a list of expectations there about how boards, committees, and commissions will function. The second document is the council priorities for 2025, 2026. I'm hoping everybody's gotten a chance to review these. This is a document for those of us that were sworn in for another term. Had to sign this actually a couple weeks ago in the city clerk's office. And this is also something that I know many of us have had discussions with council members and with city staff to make sure we're in compliance. I don't want to speak too out of line on this one, but from what I hear, it sounds like we've been doing relatively okay for the past few years and everything. We've learned a lot in terms of how our commission is supposed to function. There's been some bumps in the road, but generally we've been doing pretty okay with this. I wanted to open it up. I don't have any specific comments about it, but I wanted to open up for if we can start with the city council expectations of board, commission, and committee members. If we can start there, and if you have any comments or concerns or issues with it that you wanted to raise up. Ann?
No, I just think it's really important for us to understand what the city council expects of the commission. As an entity, what do they expect from us? And then perhaps individually, we all bring certain focuses, certain areas of maybe expertise, and also certain areas of interest. I might be interested in something that Mike has a different perspective on. I'd like to get to understand more, perhaps from the city council. What do they need? What do they want us to do? What's our job? What's our role?
Appreciate that. Have you had the opportunity to pursue that at all, or to explore that, or not yet?
Really.
Okay. Okay.
Not per se.
We'll come back to that. We'll keep going with that. I want other feedback that folks have.
And actually, I would like to know more about how can we individually talk to a city council member. I mean, I'm always tippy-toeing on some rules, violating things, and
so I think I can answer that and everything. Yeah.
On that.
The answer is that we can all pick up the phone or call or email any. We're citizens of the city as well, so we can pick up and reach out at any given time. Many of our city council members have office hours, if you will, on Tuesdays. That's often the business day, and there's a lot of things going on. But I know many of them schedule appointments to meet with people. I've gotten the opportunity to reach out to all of the city council members on various issues. From our liaisons, who they probably receive messages from me more than they want to sometimes, but we work through stuff, which is great. So our liaisons are the ones that are primarily working with us in terms of helping if we have questions, guiding the specific direction of the commission. But we can interact with and engage all of the city council members and actually encourage that whenever possible.
I do want to just say one thing is that your council priorities has a pretty in-depth outline of what council's expectations are for each of the commissions. So if you do have any questions or concerns about kind of direction, you should refer to those first.
Yeah.
And then obviously reach out to our liaisons, reach out to different council members if you need to. But you can bring those items up for discussion as a police commission, as long as it's within our jurisdiction here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good place to start.
And not to make folks go back there intentionally, but remember we had I think it was February of this year, we had a pretty intensive discussion based on some prior trainings that prior iterations of the city council had members attend. And so we were really wrestling with what's the vision and what's the purpose and what's the focus of the council, or the commission. So we went through a lot of that, and I think we did some good work, and I would recommend we go back and take a look at that video periodically as well. I think it would be helpful. Romick.
Thank you, James. I think it's great. I think that this is something that I wish we had when we first started on the police commission, because I know for the first year we really struggled to figure out what our guidelines were, where the guardrails were, and to understand the expectations of council. I think that, at the end of the day, council appoints us, we work for council, and we have to make sure we align with their expectations. And I think that having a document like this, especially with, lengthy with instructions, I think it's fantastic.
Appreciate that. Other comments, other thoughts? Go ahead, Narbe.
Yeah, just a little bit of feedback as the newest commissioner, but I've had some great experiences, kind of getting some intake, like you mentioned with you. I met with the chief and got a little bit of a onboarding orientation. I just got my hands on this welcome
Excellent.
packet. I'm excited to dig through that, but just as far as like a very minor criticism, and I was kind of expecting Ann to ask this, but I see expectations of the chair and vice chair, but like, for example, the role of the secretary, things like roles, responsibilities, rules of order, things like that don't seem like they're very well outlined. And if they're in this
Yeah.
packet, I apologize, but if this were centralized somewhere, I think it'd be very helpful as a new commissioner to kind of have a one-stop shop and get all this information.
I can actually address that. There's some history there. One of the things when I came onto the commission 4 years ago, and this is no slight to any of our commissioners that were here at that point, but things were very formal and structured in a way where conversation was actually limited. So some of the things that we did was we actually moved. We use it whenever we can, but we moved towards a consensus model. So we open up discussion. You'll notice that people can use whatever names they want. I check in with folks in advance, but I typically use first names. And then specifically, we went to Mike and Big Mike to kind of clarify. And part of that, it hasn't been to make light of what we're doing, but it's really to do exactly what we're doing right now. Open up the dialogue, making sure that formality and open dialogue are not necessarily the same thing. And so we've tried to create a sense of fluidity around that. That said, I do want to emphasize that we do have a focus. We don't talk about everything under the sun. And some examples I can give, I'm thinking of the work that Paul did a couple of years ago. And it touches on a couple of things here. Paul had raised a concern about e-bikes in the city of Burbank. That's about 2 years ago, would be my guess, is when that came up. It's something that the city council had taken up. And one of the things that we kind of manage and navigate a little bit is if the city council is actively working with a topic, should we be also taking a deep dive in it? And my opinion is we can advise and support and be outreach and be in communication with city council members, but we don't want to duplicate or replicate the work that we're doing. So we were working on e-bikes and then city council picked it up and great. The information that we were able to develop helped the police department kind of develop its material that it then took to city council. Another example was when Deputy Chief Cornelius brought the presentation around protesting here first, and then it went there. There's another example though is a few years ago we were starting to look into firearm safety issues, and this is something I was just talking briefly with the chief about not long ago. We started talking about and exploring issues around firearm safety. We were talking about agendas. I have a particular interest in firearm safety as it relates to suicide and safety in homes. But then the city council picked up talking about firearm safety in the context of the number of gun shops in Burbank. So we basically stopped. Instead of pursuing it at that point, we left that alone, let city council do that. Actually, over the last 4 or 5 months or so, in my conversations with city council members, many of them are both interested and supportive of us if we decide to, as a body, to go there again to start to explore the safety issues. But that also, Ann, comes back to what you were suggesting about how are we in communication with city council. So we can have those fluid conversations outside. We just have to make sure we don't violate the Brown Act. Right. We've got to make sure that there's no more than 3 people interacting at any given time. We want to avoid like the daisy chain of communication via email. There was another whole issue we didn't address it this evening about email addresses, but that's there's certain rules and structure that we have to follow. But as long as we're focusing, and it is really the role of the chair, the vice chair, and it's honestly, it's the role of all of the commissioners to really help us keep focused about what topics we should be addressing. Ray does a fantastic job. His job is to make sure we don't break the law with the Brown Act and to kind of reel us in if we start to and everything. So sometimes you'll notice he and I are making eye contact with each other. It's like, are we inbounds? Are we going out of bounds? That's part of what happens. But we've generally been doing okay on that. The thing I would encourage us to do as commissioners is to be proactive in doing our homework and research outside of the meetings around making sure that we're prepared coming into meetings. That involves reviewing the work that Sergeant Turner and the department does around posting data on the website, understanding what the basic crime statistic information or information is out there put out by the department before we come into the meeting, so that way we can have a deeper conversation about whatever topic we're addressing. It's not just a show and tell from the department. And then the last thing is and this kind of goes into what our role is. We drive the agenda. We take this information in, but we drive the agenda, and we're really a voice of the community, of the citizens of Burbank. We're not the voice of the department. We partner with the department. We're not the voice of city council. We partner with city council. We advise city council. We advise the department. So I really want to encourage us to continue to lean into that space. And I think we've been doing pretty okay over the past couple of years, and we're continuing to grow. So sorry about the lecture.
And adding on, yes, and I think it's really important for us to not only encourage, but to provide mechanisms for the public
Yeah.
to let us know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so many people I can talk to on my block or that you can talk to and or get emails from. I welcome conversation.
Right.
I don't know what might be happening 4 blocks over and 3 blocks
Right.
in, but I think that we need to really focus on the mechanisms by which people can reach out to us.
Right.
And not be a violation of the Brown Act.
We've talked about the use of technology, and you and I have had that conversation. Romick and I have had the conversation about how we would like to see, and Romick has actually had the conversation with the city PIO about how we would like to publicize the topics that we're addressing, to gather more information, to get feedback from the community. But the problem is that takes work. And that takes work outside of the commission meetings, where we've got to make those phone calls. Go ahead.
The department has, doesn't the department now have someone who is focusing on aspects of social media?
Yeah.
I have seen on Facebook little vignettes of Officer so-and-so, and I think that's great. I've seen postings on the city of Burbank on different roles that departments are doing.
Right.
And that's something, I mean, I would love to do, but somebody has to be in control of what information, should go out to the public.
You actually have a fair level of leeway. I'm thinking about Romick earlier posted on social media the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Right.
He didn't have to have permission from anybody to do that.
Not for that,
yeah.
but, you don't want to, Officer Bob is,
But that
kind of stuff is of interest to people. And what it does is it makes our department important.
I think our department is important.
It
but
is important, but it makes it about individuals who go out, have jobs, and not just fight, but they're there for us.
Appreciate
that.
that.
I think that is what the public relishes.
I appreciate that. Romick?
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I think that obviously aligning with the expectations of council, we were talking about reaching out to council members. I mean, from Chris to Zazat, our council members have been so gracious as far as reaching out, setting up conversations. They always want to talk to you. And, I've always been, even prior to the commission, really involved in the community, really out there. And I'm always mindful for the fact that, when I'm out there, you represent the commission. I mean, even though you might not be in that hat, people might see you as a police commissioner. People, you still represent, the goodwill of the council as well when you're out there. So you're not only acting on behalf of yourself, you're often on behalf on yourself, the city, and also the city council as well. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. But yeah, so I mean, reach out. I would just say reach out to anybody you want to get more information, whether it's council, whether it's chief, whether it's Sherry, and I feel like they've always been available, and I thank them for that.
I will share there are some administrative functions behind the scenes that folks may not be aware of it's the responsibility of every commissioner or board. Romick, Mike, and Ann, one of the things that happens is, for example, if a member misses more than a certain number of meetings within a certain period of time, it's actually the responsibility of the leadership team, specifically the chair, but the leadership team, to notify that member, to make that phone call, to have that conversation and report back. So there's some nuts and bolts behind the scenes to make sure, but I'm bringing that up because the way this list is set up, I don't want anybody to worry or panic about violating a rule and somehow getting booted right away. I promise there are conversations that take place individually and with our liaisons and with the city clerk's office to help make sure that the goal is to try to help everybody succeed. That's really what this is about. So I don't want anybody to worry about this list as if it's some sort of a gotcha. It's not. It's really, as Romick said, they're guardrails for us. Other thoughts or comments about the expectations document? Can we move on to the council priorities document, which is attachment 2? And there are a few things there that are related specifically to our work with the And again, these are council priorities 25, 26. We've already had a discussion about the 2035 plan, and we've had presentations from the department before about goals of the department and everything. This is specifically the council priorities, and there's a couple of areas. The quality of life, I think, affects everybody across the board, but I wanted to go through that and open it up if any of you wanted to actually lead this discussion about items from council priorities that you wanted to lift up related to the work of the police commission. Because I could talk forever and ever, and my staff tell me that all the time, so. Okay, I'll go there. So a couple things I wanted to lift up is, one is obviously public safety. So the work that we're doing in helping review and be familiar with the policies and procedures of the department, asking pertinent questions, raising up issues, just like we were talking about protests this evening. Those are the types of things that we want to make sure that we're really on top of as far as public safety. Quality of life, as I mentioned, is already there. And then also with our caller that called in this evening, and we've discussed it many, many times, the work, Romick, that you're doing with the Drive Right, Save Lives campaign and the work that the commission's involved in around transportation and traffic. Those are going to be the big areas that we're really going to be, I think, focusing in on related to the priorities for the council. We can then dive into the specific priority action plan, but it really carries from there, from those main concepts and ideas. Anything else anybody wanted to lift up related to this? Narbe, go ahead.
Yeah, just on the first page, assessing the usage of the 311 app, item F under city services. I think I've gotten a sense that, obviously a lot of non-emergency, non-criminal reporting makes its way to the department through the 311 app. I'd love to see some of that data and see how that could kind of help us in some of our decision-making and recommendations that we pass up to the council.
Thank you. One that specifically jumped out to me around public safety, it's actually item F, and it's about expansion of the mental health evaluation team services. Again, not a gotcha, but these are things that come up in the course of my work. I'm exposed to discussions and information, actually a recent report that I will actually forward to the department as well, unfortunately, law enforcement is in a position where they're often first responders to mental health situations. Which we're grateful that the resources and the training is there. But on the flip side, there's growing data, and fortunately, this has not been an issue in Burbank. But there's also national data right now that's identifying that if we intervene, if we have law enforcement intervene in non-law enforcement or social service related issues, there's a greater likelihood for negative outcomes, particularly the people that are experiencing mental health issues. So that's an area that I'm interested in, because I do want to see the teams expand, but I also want to make sure that our teams expand in a way that manages the department's liability around that and helps provide the most effective interventions we collectively can in the community. So that's an area that you'll probably hear me kind of pushing and pursuing down the road as well. Other topics jump out at folks?
I think one thing that jumps out at me, and it might be under public safety, is that we see so much growth and development in Burbank, apartment buildings, complexes, condos, townhouses everywhere. And the thing that concerns me is our ability as a city to stay on top of this, to stay abreast of the police and fire numbers. Because that takes constant recruitment, training, cost factors. That's something that bugs me. Not bugs me, but makes me wonder, are we going to be able to handle all of this?
Something that I'm particularly interested around that is, how do we effectively advocate for appropriate budgeting to address those needs? There's already some projections out there about what the department and what the city will need in 2035, and how do we prepare for that? it goes with increased population that's in the city, increased density. What are those needs? And there are costs. And as you said, there are costs associated with that. The piece that I'm learning, the growing edge for me personally, is how to work with city council to help effectively advocate for that. How do we give our city council members the information they need, and how do we support the department in making the case to justify those increased costs and needs? Because we know there's going to be a cost associated with it.
I came across the Chamber of Commerce has a nice little book. It's gorgeous, and it lists in it where everything is being built, condos, no more fries, but it's going to be, homes for this. And it's like, where are these people going? How are they going to drive up and down our streets? Are they what about buses? Are they going to be using the trains? What about ambulances? How prepared are we for what's happening? It doesn't take that long for construction. I mean, we're talking like 3 years. Whoa, it's there. Can we meet the needs? Yep. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean
go
to
ahead.
I was just going to point out, remember when we had agendized the review of the 2035 plan and how the police department was, what's their projection for what the department's going to look like in 2035? And I think we spend a lot of time reviewing what happened in the past. Maybe we should spend a little more time looking at the future. That would be my suggestion, is always looking forward.
And what is our role in that as the commission in that?
Well, I think our role when it comes to public safety, because we want to stay in our lane, is there's so much information coming in from different sources. Like, we don't know what's coming in on 311, right? And there's lots of calls into dispatch which aren't result in arrest. So it's not on the arrest report. It's the collection of all this data and making it useful rather than this just being covered with it. That's all.
Appreciate that. All right. Other last thoughts, comments about this item where we're, again, city council goals and expectations of board members, which includes the priority action plan.
Yeah, just one last, kind of a maybe just a clarification for my own understanding. But in terms of like a plan, like this is great guidance. We talked about guardrails. Mike, you mentioned, kind of focusing on public safety. We talked about kind of communicating with city council, to kind of provide us with some additional guidance on this. Yep. Is the intent of this to kind of have us focus on certain categories, or is it to make sure that we align our agendized items with some of the objectives on this council? I think it's a chicken or the egg. Which one comes first?
I think it's actually a little bit of both. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both. Part of it is to make sure that we're working in partnership with council and supporting the work of council. When they have questions, anything that we can do to help pursue that, I think would be helpful. But also part of it is to support the existing plans. Again, Mike was talking about the 2035 plan that was already put together by the city. What are some of the questions that we will have for public safety in relation to the development of that 2035 plan, the implementation of that 2035 plan, and what can we do? How can we advocate for that? Where it gets tricky and where we have to be careful, and I think we've come close, but I think we've been okay with this, is that, so for example, I'm going to use traffic safety as an example. Anything related to traffic enforcement is within the domain of the police department. Anything related to traffic control is another commission and another group entirely. So we just need to be really careful about where we're navigating those bounds. We can't create. I'm going to make something up. I appreciate the work of the Arts Commission. Okay, if we were to propose that there be a large art project to help control traffic and slow down traffic so people slow down and look at the public art that's there, probably not in our lane at all for that. But if we're looking at specific areas where there is speeding and why there is speeding taking place, and how's the department responded to it, and what are limitations that the department might be experiencing around that, the first thing that comes to mind is when the protests were happening outside of Warner Brothers with the union strike not long ago, and how the department navigated that issue. Those are areas that we can get involved in. So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky, but we've got each other. We've got Ray, we've got the chief, we've got the department. We have city council to help work with to keep us in those guide rails. But again, I don't think we've been too far out of bounds. Unless I'm wrong, unless somebody says I'm wrong, I think we've been doing pretty okay. Ray?
So the council priorities should really be the priorities of the commission, especially with regards to public safety.
Right.
Obviously, you can stray a little bit here and there in terms of different topics that come up that, maybe new, maybe an issue for a community member that you see when you go and speak to the different community members. So, but the main priorities listed here should be what we try to focus on to help council. And I underline some of the things that we've talked about over just the past year, and we've covered a wide variety of these things. We've talked about the different programs BPD has, initiatives, how they prepare for major disasters, hiring personnel, recruitment, the MET team, community service officers. All those topics have come up already. It's really just continuing that conversation as the year goes on. Speaking with council, speaking with the community, figuring out what else the police commission can do, can discuss, or have BPD present to the commission to kind of further these ideas and conversations. So,
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, recommendations? Folks are good? All right, let's go ahead and move on then. Thank you all for that. So we're moving on to item G4, which is discussion and recommendations, if applicable, on preparation for the joint meeting with the City Council and review of the OIR annual report. So a couple of things about that. Narbe, this is for you. You may know this already, but this is a reminder for all of us. We will get the OIR report when the City Council gets the OIR report. So it makes it really tricky to prepare to respond to a report that we're all getting at the same time. The added conflict with this is that we're not going to be able to discuss the OIR report amongst ourselves prior to meeting with the City Council. It's one of those things that I think we kind of had to learn it going through it. And the reason being is because we're going to have our commission meeting, and then we're going to get the OIR report, and then we're going to have the joint meeting if the calendar follows similarly. So what ends up happening is two things that evening. One, there will be questions that may come from City Council that commissioners may be asked to respond to. When we're responding to those questions as it relates to the OIR report, we're actually giving our own individual responses to that because none of us can speak on behalf of the commission about the report because we didn't get a chance to, does that make sense? We didn't get a chance to review the report and test. So that's one of the bumpy moments as well. I want folks to be prepared for that. Something that I've chosen to do, and Romik, this is going to be your call on how you want to handle this moving forward. One of the things I've done is simply start to provide a periodic report back to our liaisons in City Council, just summarizing the topics that we've covered over whatever quarter or period of time that was since the last report. Typically in this meeting, what I've been doing the past few years is reporting out on all of the topics, just to kind of, as Ray had just identified, to talk about all of the topics that we've been addressing and the things that we've been working on. What I've chosen to do is to make sure that it's open. So I had no interest in speaking on behalf of the commission for all things. I really encouraged all of you and encourage all of you to speak your mind and speak your opinion on that. It's a little bit awkward because it's a joint meeting, but it's the City Council's meeting and we'll be in the audience. And so we're not all sitting around a round table together. So it's not really an open discussion like that. Just want everybody to be kind of prepared and aware for that. Are there other, I know I'm missing some stuff. For those of you that have kind of gone through and been in this process before, are there other issues that we need to talk about now in preparation for that joint meeting? Mike?
More of a question. I believe in the past,
But yeah, speak right into the microphone. There we go.
that our chair has done a presentation to council during the joint meeting.
Yeah.
But that presentation was not okayed or
Nope.
discussed
Nope.
amongst our.
Yep.
I'm not sure that should be, the presentation should be made, because that would be one person's decision, not the group.
Right.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, no, he's absolutely right, because I think that in consensus, we have to remember that whatever we decide to share at city council, it comes from all of us, you
Right.
know, and I know we've done great work on reporting back, but other individuals might have other items they want to report back, and maybe agendizing a conversation about what we can possibly share at the city council meeting, or trust the chair or the vice chair to share during the city council meeting or individually, would make sense.
Are there any, sort of like a set of guidelines or something for
There
joint meetings?
There are not. We've been
Being developed?
We've been flying without a net for that, and so that's the reason the past few years it's been what I've reported out as chair has literally just been our agendized items and what topics we've covered, because those are things that we've all discussed and we've discussed together. But then when it gets into when the city, historically this last couple of years, the city council has asked for individual member opinions on things, and then any member has been able to respond from the microphone. So I don't know a way to I don't know what we would approve prior to that we would all discuss, because we would have to be discussing either now or in September.
Yeah.
And so and the other piece is, and Ray, I'm looking at you on this one. What issues would we be discussing and bringing up that are business of the entire commission, that the entire commission hadn't talked about at a prior meeting? Because that feels like a Brown Act violation. If we've got topics and issues and decisions that were made outside of meetings, but decisions that were made by the commission as a whole, that feels like dangerous water to me.
Not necessarily. If it's the meeting is October that we're going to have the joint meeting that's going to be discussing OIR and basically a year recap for the police commission.
Well, the year recap, that's something that we added ourselves. That was not a requirement of the meeting. The meeting basically gets publicized as it's a joint meeting of city council and the police commission with OIR.
What I would recommend, and I watched last year's meeting, and you did give a kind of a brief overview of what took place over the last year and kind of the development and growth of the commission. Something similar to that, we can come back in September as an agendized item here for you all to discuss what topics. Maybe you can work on coming up with a list, each individual commissioner, bring it to the meeting. We can add it to our list that we want to present to council, if you feel it's relevant.
Sure.
And then also topics that you felt were beneficial for the community to hear.
Right.
Or maybe that you felt was something that we want to continue to display to the community that BPD has done over the last year that you felt was worth commending. And we can come back and discuss this as a group and finalize kind of like a short, maybe a paragraph, 2 paragraphs to present to council, and then open the floor to if there are any questions or concerns council has.
And I want to be mindful of the time this evening, but we can actually start that piece, what you're describing, right now. So in our previous agenda item, we were talking about kind of like what the goals and what the focus of the commission should be in relation to the priorities and goals of city council, but specifically what Ray's identifying about places that the commission would like to go, that can actually be part of this agenda right now if we want to start that conversation.
And people may not be prepared to discuss that kind of detail, but so I think maybe another meeting that we're all prepared for and can discuss and bring to the table something to present to council would be helpful.
So can't the, forgive me, can't the previous agendas and agenda items serve as kind of an outline that we fill in for what we've done? I mean, that way we're all talking about something that we have previously talked about, and it wouldn't be a violation of anything. It's not new stuff.
Yep. We're talking about stuff that we haven't talked about before as a commission that we want to talk about with city council.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's, all right, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think
Right now, I don't think any of us are prepared.
Okay.
And that's something we we all should think individually about, and it should be agendized for a meeting in the very near future.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Okay. All right. Any last thoughts or comments on this one in preparation for the meeting? It sounds like the part of the plan is that we will agendize for September. Okay. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and move on. We're moving on to item G5, which is discussion to select commissioners to attend the annual NACOL conference, which is October 26th through 30th, 2025 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I'd like to open it up for to identify folks that are interested in attending. I am interested in attending, and part of the reason I'm interested in attending, and it actually ties back to a couple of our presentations this evening, is we are at the 5-year mark of when George Floyd was murdered, and I'm going back to the city where that ended up happening is of great interest of mine in relation to our work and how we work with the Burbank Police Department to help advocate and make sure that we don't have incidents like that in the city of Burbank to the best of our ability possible. So I do have an interest in attending.
And Chair Coombs, is it 2 spots that we
There
have available?
are 2 spots available, is my understanding. Yeah. Mike?
I just want to reiterate, I will not go because I've already gone twice, so I want to give opportunity to others to go.
All right. Thank you.
Interested, not able, but I would love to get all the free packets and paperwork and get daily phone calls. I'm very interested, but I need to bow out because of work.
Okay, so not going but want swag. Gotcha.
Important swag.
Important swag. All right. Narbe?
Yeah, I'm interested and I can carry a lot of swag.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody?
Has Paul shown any interest?
Paul
I think he
had
said he
gone.
would like to go if nobody else.
I think that's what I think that's what he said. Yeah,
He went to Chicago.
he's gonna be. Oh, he's in a. Yeah, it's right. He's gonna be occupied. He's gonna be occupied, and his director would be really upset if we. There we go. There we go. Okay, so Paul's out of play for that one and everything. So Narbe and myself. Is there anybody else that's interested? Okay, so I'd like to hear a motion. If I can get a motion to have Narbe and myself attend, Mike?
I would like to move that Narbe and James represent the Burbank Police Commission at the coming up Nicole conference.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second from Romick. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay. We will start working. Sherry, we start working with you on the details on that? Okay. Sounds good. Thank you
And
for that.
Will that conflict with one of these meetings? I don't think it will. I think it'll be a separate
I think
separate day.
it's later, yeah. So I think we're okay. No, we will we will not be doing that. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you'll have to go watch the video. We're going to go ahead and move on to item G6, which is, we're flying through this. G6, general announcements by Chief Quintero. These are brief announcements regarding upcoming events and or items of note related to the police department. Chief?
Good afternoon. Again, no items as far as any events that are coming up. I think we have our future events coming up in October. The only thing that I wanted to mention was National Night Out, which the commission has already done, and specifically highlight Lieutenant Green, Sergeant Turner, Officer Campos, and all of staff who make that event the success that it was. Think they don't get enough credit. I appreciate the commission acknowledging all the work that goes into it, because behind the scenes, I mean, it's months of preparation and the lead up to ensure that it's successful and a great event for the community and everybody that's involved.
Thank you for that. All right. With that, we will move on to item H, which is introduction of agenda items for future meetings. We currently have a few things that are agendized, and I'm going to take a brief moment to just reiterate how the dashboard works and why the dashboard works the way it does. So future agendas, we are going to be getting an update on parking enforcement efforts since hiring parking enforcement contractor Laz Parking. That is going to be at a date we need to hear from the police department about when the department wants to make that presentation, because my understanding is there was some data and some other details that we wanted to make sure the department had before we did that. We also have future agendized Chief Quintero's vision and priorities for the Burbank Police Department. Again, there's no date specifically for that, so it's really at your discretion. We just need to if we're ready to identify a date, we can do that. But if not, we need to. The dashboard piece. I just want to revisit this real briefly. A dashboard is something that we set up a few years ago to make sure that we were pursuing an annual agenda of things that we wanted to make sure that we covered. And one of the big issues in our prior iteration of the commission was around pedestrian safety, and we were looking at data on that and a whole bunch of stuff related to that. So that's part of the reason we have the dashboard, and that's part of the reason we have pedestrian safety identified for October. If I recall correctly, October was also selected, October was selected because specifically of Halloween and the amount of kids and adults that are out on the streets and jamming up lots of different spaces on Halloween and concerns about their safety. So that's why pedestrian safety in October, but those are not locked in, and that's something that the commission and our leadership can decide whether you want to continue with the dashboard as well. So those are the so going back to the two future items that are already agendized. Do we have dates from the department that we want to put either of those items on yet? It's either the last parking or your vision and priorities for the police department.
As far as my vision and priorities, I want to say I have a conflict in October.
Okay.
And are we dark, I'm assuming, in November? And
we're dark in December.
So November would be a good time for me.
November?
Be perfectly fine with that.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do real quickly to take care of that, can I get a motion to include Chief Quintero's vision and priorities for BPD in November? I got a motion from Roman. Do I have a second? From Mike Ellman. Do all in favor say aye? Any opposition? Any abstentions? Cool. So we've got that on for November. The last parking.
November also would be fine. And that keeps us at 3, correct?
At this moment, it has us for November, it currently has us at 2. Because we don't have anything else that's agendized for November yet.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and do it again. Can I get a motion for the last parking presentation for November? From Narbe. Can I get a second? From Ann. All in favor, say aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, so we've got that for November as well. Thank you for that. And then again, the rest of it, I'm gonna leave wide open. I believe we have something that was proposed earlier that we need to formally agendize now. Romik, you want to take that one?
Sure, absolutely. I'd like to make a motion for discussion and recommendations on items regarding the police commission activities for the last year that we would report at the joint city council meeting.
For September?
For September.
Okay.
Yes.
Do I have a second? Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mike Ellman, all in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, so we'll do that in September. Other agenda items? Ann?
Not quite sure how to express this. Help me.
We'll get you through it.
I'd like to, I don't know if we need to agenda it or just say, well, we can make it happen. I'd love to have maybe help the department put together a little video that can be on, say, City of Burbank on safety Halloween night. Okay.
So you could work with the PIO department of
Okay.
of BPD to kind of give them an idea of what you're looking for,
Okay.
and they can always. If
We can
that's
make it
something
happen.
that they're willing to work with, then they can
So I
provide you
don't
an
need
update.
to do that. I don't need
Can-
to agenda that or.
Can I make a recommendation to try that out? This is fantastic, by the way. But if I can make a recommendation what we're going to have you do is touch bases with Sherry and have Sherry help coordinate that and direct that.
Okay.
So that way what we're doing is, this is fantastic. And what it does is it helps manage the workload as it comes to the department from the commission. So that way Sherry's kind of our gatekeeper with all of that and can coordinate. Sorry, Sherry, for putting you on the spot with that. Okay, thank you.
And Chair Coombs, if I may,
Yeah.
the Commissioner Wenzel already described kind of our social media outreach and content that you've been seeing. And I hope that it has been informative and engaging. And if you've noticed over the last 4 months, our activity on social media is definitely trending. And the messages that we're trying to communicate are specific to what's going on in that respective month. So for this month, school safety. We put out a video addressing school safety. for Halloween, understanding and knowing the importance to the community and the overall safety for the children. I anticipate that we will be working on those kind of videos, no different than any other month when we have certain things that we're trying to address and communicating that outwardly to them.
Perfect. All right. Other agenda items for September or future? All right. As a reminder, and we've Sherry Chief and I have talked about this as well, is the department has at their discretion the ability to add pressing items to the agenda as needed in the future. We still direct the agenda, but they have the ability to add additional items if needed. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and our next meeting date is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025, 6 p.m. right here. And with that, I am going to adjourn our meeting at 7:40. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Record.